So I think this escalation of applied science and the escalation of applied science in the service of the marketplace has diminished the discourses that question progress. So if we are descended from sort of the Mary Shelleys and the Charles Dickenses of the world, we have been marginalized, right? And because we're saying, well, just hold on just a second there with this progress thing. Let's ask, these questions. What do we lose? What do we gain? Who benefits? Who doesn't benefit? At what cost ultimately? What are the big pictures? All those questions that critique the progress narrative are further diminished because, hey, we've got progress. We've got cell phones. We've got this stuff that can do stuff really fast and magnificently and beautifully. So just shush all you naysayers and you Luddites, right? So we're diminished by this discourse. And it's funny because we're called esoteric, and we're called elitist, and we're called someone even said that there's this impression of the humanities as a haughty discourse. I'm not saying that whoever said that was saying that, and the thing is we've been put there, really, and we keep ourselves there, but we've been put there because no one's going to pay us to go on the talk shows and Glenn Beck screaming heads talking at one another to offer up our humanities critique. And even if we do, sometimes occasionally that happens. I mean, there's recently this thing about Facebook. It was in this very commodifiable way. It was about privacy, and it was about concerned moms and their privacy for their kids, and and then it's gone. So these critiques will pop up like, well, what about Facebook? Is it such a good thing? But then an extended critique of what is lost by having an online communities like that. They're very hard to sustain. And the only place they really are sustained is in the academy. So then they say, oh, we're in these ivory towers, we're so... but who else is going to pay us and provide us a community in which to ask these questions? It's the academy. So we're sort of in this double bind of being kind of locked into the ivory towers. And my feeling is that humanities needs to kind of make itself more relevant and to bust itself out, but it's going to take a lot because it doesn't pay to bust ourselves out. And as long as we're driven by the exigencies of the marketplace, it's very difficult to bust out and to make that critique, to ask those questions, But I do think that the one allies we have, ironically enough, I think, are bench scientists, because, as I said earlier, with the acceleration of applied science, or which you might just call technology, with that explosion, the role of bench scientists has also been marginalized, or co-opted and corrupted. What do I mean? For example, bench scientists who study the basic chemistry of pharmaceutical drugs, for example. Their work is often, in the interest of applied science, their work is often buried, disregarded, hidden, or not published in the interest of the marketplace of selling a pharmaceutical product, for example. So science, people who are doing real science are beginning to feel the effects of the need to apply their science. And some of them are just kind of giving in and saying, okay, fine, I'm going to go where the money is. And others are saying, wait a second, we need to still have some ethics here in science. And so there's a huge question about the role of pharmaceutical companies, for example, and I'm using pharmaceuticals as a form of applied technology, applied science. And there's a huge controversy ongoing about how basic science has been corrupted in the interest of making money for large pharmaceutical companies. And so I think that we have some natural allies there with bench scientists, because bench scientists, they really want to know the truth. They want to know the truth, period. It may be ugly. It may be wrong. The results of their study might be bad. It might say this is not a good thing, this drug or whatever, this product. But bench scientists who are ethically committed to that, I feel we have an affinity with them, because that's what we want too as humanists. We really want to know. We want to stare at that ugly thing, the abject, and say, what is it? What is this abject thing? I don't think we're just promoters of truth and beauty. I think we want to look at truth and beauty and say, what is truth and beauty? And sometimes the consequences are that we also need to look at ugliness. So ironically, I think we might have some affinity with the realm of pure science. And another example of this, and this goes back to to go back to the industrialization topic, is another area that you see this is in the area of chemistry and manufacturing. So whether it be pesticides, or whether it be asbestos, or whether it be dangerous products that are in use. Bench scientists, for example, I'll use asbestos because I know that one the best. Any bench scientist who knows anything about asbestos will agree. The science is incontrovertible that asbestos is dangerous. And yet, it's still in use. It's massively in use. It's banned in most industrialized countries, but it's still being mined in Canada, and it's being mined and used in those super rapidly industrializing economies like Brazil and China. So the science is indisputable that it is bad stuff, and yet it continues to be used. So a humanist who might be more interested in the human consequences of what happens when we use a known toxin, and a bench scientist who has scientific proof that these are known toxins, we might have a lot in common. So I think to truly, in some ways, to bridge this gap, one of the things we might think about doing is beginning to talk to the bench scientists, beginning to look at the basic applied research and use that to bridge the gap between the two cultures. And I actually see, as I said, I was going to get around to maybe two cultures, and it may be that the two cultures are applied science / technology, imbricated with the marketplace and globalization. So the globalized, industrialized, highly technocratic culture versus everything else. Versus everything that would question that. Critique it. I don't want to throw it out. I like my antibiotics as much as the next person. I don't want to throw it out. It doesn't make me a Luddite. But I do want to ask questions about it.